In 2006, I went to Croatia with my nephew and his family. We were in search of the birthplace of my grandfather, Ivan Horvat, and to see if there was any remaining relatives within the area. When we left, all we had was the name of the area, Kunic, which is along the Slovenian-Croatian border on the Kupa River. Through the help of my good friends, the Yazbek, and especially their daughter, Nikolina, who acted as our interpreter and guide, we made it to Kunic. Information was scarce. However, we came across a couple, Jura and Lucia Kusinic. After numerous phone calls and exchange of information, we were led to a small family village, which was the birthplace of my grandfather, Ivan. Little did we know at the time that the people he was talking to was a cousin of mine who lived in Slovenia. Upon entering the family village, it was an emotional situation. I had goosebumps then, and I have goosebumps today when I think about it. There's many buildings on this. They range from 70 to 300 years old. And later I was to learn that as many as 150 people lived in this village, which had a name of Hrvatska. As I said, I also learned that I had a cousin, Ivan, and his wife, Marica, who lived in Slovenia. They traveled back to Kunic several times a year, not only to maintain the property and structure, but also tend the vineyards, and in the fall make wonderful wine and rakia. Over the past year, thanks to Nikolina, I communicated with cousin Ivan and Marica, and in September of 2007 returned to Croatia for a family reunion. I refer to this family reunion as being the completion of the highway. My grandfather, who came to the U.S. in 1900s, and as I said, we lost contact with the other family in the 1950s. He built the original highway to the U.S., and 108 years later, my return, I completed the highway back. I hope that this highway allows all on both sides of the ocean to not lose contact, but to keep in communications with one another and hopefully venture down that highway and to have many of the experiences and emotions which I have felt. Now, you will see some photos and some videos of that reunion and some of the unusual experiences which I had at that time, and also some of the time that I was afforded to spend with my good friends, the Yazbeks. When Ivica, Vladimir, and I arrived, only Marica was in the village. She called out into the hills, and in a little bit, Ivan came down. This was an exceptional moment. Not only meeting someone you didn't know existed, but someone who immediately you felt a kinship with. It was, believe me, a truly emotional experience. I had tears in my eyes, goosebumps, and I never hugged anybody as hard as I did at that moment, when we just kept bobbing back and forth, looking at one another. You don't get those kinds of joys in life. It was truly spectacular. We took a brief walk up the hill to discover people picking grapes in a vineyard. There's a whole slew of them. Yura and Lucha knew, very few of the others I did not. I would learn later who they all were. And I can tell you this was the most wonderful group of people I've met in a long time. We walked back down the hill, back to the house with Maritza. In a little while, Ivan came back down with a little tractor and a cart with containers filled with grapes, and a couple of guys began already pressing them, so to speak. And in a little while, Maritza came out with baskets and boxes with food. I was told to get in the cart and let's go up the hill. The house you're seeing is where Ivan was born. The village, per se, I had an immediate infinity about it. Not only that I had been there, however, many of the things that I had mentioned before were in the details of the place, the greenness, the overlooking of things were quite similar to my grandfather's home that I grew up in. It's hard to describe the emotions that you have when you see something. The tranquility, the peacefulness, the sense of being home, knowing why you have emotions. The road that we're on now is the road that my grandfather walked out, and in this sign he probably looked over his shoulder, and that was the last time he ever saw the village. This little religious icon, he probably said a prayer hoping things would be all right. We arrived on top of this mountain next to a church, and there was this great big vineyard again with all these people working. Most spectacular view that you can ever see. The mountains opposite of this are Slovenia. Breathtaking. I'm a wordy person, but for what was going in my eyes and my brain, I don't have those words to describe it. These people here had been working very hard, for we were picking the remainders of the grapes. I gotta give them a lot of credit. It's beautiful to work with them. There's all this chatter going on and the laughter, and Ivan bringing you a glass of wine or a shot of rakia to keep you going up that mountain, the old Croatian way. We all work, we all laugh, we're all together. Doesn't matter if you're young, old, neighbor, rich, poor, we go do it. That's how we are. And I saw the exemplariness of this, and I enjoyed every minute. Ivan and Maritza never stop. They always go. This is Vladimir and Ivan's son, who also is a semi-architect contractor from what I can gather, and very welcoming people. Little did I know I would be spending the rest of the day up here gathering those grapes. At the end of the day, we went down the hill to start eating, conversation. For us, the day was over. However, the men were still unloading those grapes, and crushing them, sing about our, the victors of the spoils, or whatever you want to call it. All that wood there is not only for heat, but for cooking. Everything was just so wonderful. And the laughter and the enjoyment, what a wonderful sight. Again, don't know how to describe it, but it was just great. Just absolutely great. Like I said, the guys were downstairs underneath this residence and unloading the grapes, putting them into the crusher. It's an electric crusher, not like the grape presses that my grandfather made, but it accomplishes the same thing. They would make, and Ivan is an absolutely wonderful winemaker, not only red wine but white wine, and as I was told, twice cooked rakia. That'll knock you on your behind if you're not careful. This Yura, he makes me laugh. He works hard, parties hard, he debates hard. Very wonderful gentleman. A lot of respect for him. But again, you take these grapes, bring them in, load them up, throw them in the hopper, and we will have wine and rakia later. This is some of the finished product, the supply to keep you going up and down that mountain. And little boys do the same thing all over the world. We create. At the end of the day, when all the work's done, everybody washes up, and then we go up to eat the wonderful meal by Maritza and her daughter, and then we drink and laugh and listen to music. It's so wonderful not to hear television but human voices and laughter. Don't know what else to